The Vedic Voice channel heartily welcomes you for a presentation on why all religions imposed sexual chastity on men and women. Not only Hinduism but almost all the religions of the world imposed a ban on prostitution and restricted men and women to be sexually loyal toward only one person in life, that is the spouse. Premarital and extramarital sexual relationships of all kinds have been banned, stamping it as great sin. As it has been common with any dictum or custom of the past, the reason for the above custom is also not known clearly. This is because the ancient societies were all heart-oriented and they didn't stress much on the brain-oriented reasoning. In the past, most of the people would not question the rules and customs they were accustomed to follow, just they would take it for granted and follow without any suspicion. Because they had such a great respect on the people who imposed these rules, for the ancient societies were led by the selfless and pious sages and saints, especially in Hinduism. If they say something, that will be only good for others and the society and the entire world as well. The sages will not say or do something that is bad or harmful to anyone or any creature. Such was the dignity of the leaders of the ancient India. There is no point in suspecting the sayings of a selfless saint like Vedavyas or Valmiki or Manu or Yagnavakaya, who lead an aesthetic life dwelling in the forests, abandoning the worldly life. Can a person of that pious living can do or utter anything harmful to others? Can they cheat anyone? So, naturally the words of these sages were taken for granted, even if they were not understandable to the majority of the common masses. After all, they are not the modern-day politicians to cheat you to fulfill their selfish motives. They are all the selfless beings, but with the only one desire, if at all, to do good to all beings. Many of the ancient customs have deeper meanings and are not easily understandable to the common man. Naturally, the majority of the people didn't question these beliefs and customs and took them for granted and led happy lives by following them. But we, the modern people, are mind-oriented people, and we need explanation for everything, whether we understand or not, and we don't understand and think at all in majority of the cases to the core. The ancient societies had wise people than the present generation, but, of course, we think we know, and this is a different thing altogether. The ancient people will not suspect their customs, for they know it for sure they were all only for their good. They had such belief on their leaders, the sages and enlightened mystics. But, in the modern world, our fate is that we don't believe, or we can't believe anything in the world, including our spouse and dear ones on one hand, and on the other hand we don't try to understand, but just we suspect or condemn everything out of our ego. That is the problem of the present generation in majority of the persons. The ancient customs were all time tested and are all gems, but we fail to understand their value and are throwing them aside like a glass merchant throwing aside a small piece of a glass-like thing, not knowing the value of it, suspecting it to be useless glass, which in fact is a rare gem. The question of sexual chastity in men and women is also such a custom that came down to us from the ancient societies. It is highly valuable principle, but unfortunately we don't know its value, like the above said poor glass merchant. Unfortunately we are poor to believe and poor to understand as well. The modern people are weak beings, our hearts and minds too are very weak along with other things. Some of the reasons for sexual chastity are given here under, beside many other reasons in vogue that you might be already aware of. Please note that, even I don't know some of the reasons, but am writing what I know as it could be helpful to someone out there in that corner of the globe. The first point is that no great person in history came to birth out of unchaste parents. The stress is more so on the mother, and I don't know the reasons for this, to be honest. Second point is that people who don't have sexual purity will turn rash. This we could observe in the case of prostitutes. On the other hand, sexually impure people will lose their inner purity, the purity of the mind as well. Third point is that great souls will not enter the impure wombs. But, of course, this is beyond the grasp of the modern scientists. Ram, Krishna, Jesus, Mohammed, Buddha, and no other great soul landed from a sexually unchaste mother. The sexual purity was taken to still more heights, more exalted in the case of Jesus, to impose more purity on Jesus, and the Bible says, Jesus the pure, came out of Virgin Mary. Whether the modern science accepts it or not, we have a point in it. Only if the mother is sexually pure she could give birth to mature or great or pure children. Only a chaste mother could give birth to a pure child. None of the great people in the history came to being out of impure parents. So, to breed good and great children the parents must lead a pious life. There might be some exceptions to this, but, those cases will have different reasons behind them, as we can't generalize anything or any rule. But, this rule is applicable in the general cases. On the other hand, the general rule is that individuals, who are not pure sexually, will not grow spiritually. This is because the spirituality is nothing but converting or sublimating the sexual energy into higher forms of energy. This is discussed by the Hindu sage Patanjali in his famous book, Yoga Sutra. In the Sanskrit literature the transformed energy is called as ojas. This makes a man spiritual and elevates him to still higher planes toward the fulfillment of life. And the people who are not pure sexually, will not grow within and will turn more animalist in nature, losing their sensitiveness. The bud has to transform into a flower but shall not transform into a seed, and the man has to turn into God-man but not into a brute. So, if we want to grow within, one must be sexually pure, otherwise the man will go back in evolution. Only few reasons are presented here, but, of course there are many reasons in vogue. When going up or down is a choice, could any healthy man choose to go down willingly? The choice is yours and you are free to execute. Do you like this video? Please write your comments below and share this video on your social networks. Subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos on Hinduism and related stuff. Thank you for watching.